With a quorum present,
Jim,
we're now able to commence the public meeting of the Dartmouth Conservation Commission for March 12, 2024. My clock, it's 7:05. This meeting was duly posted in accordance with Massachusetts law on the Town of Dartmouth website. And it had the information on how to log into this meeting. It is a remote meeting, and we're doing the remote meeting this evening courtesy of Governor Healy's signing on March 29, 2023, a further extension of the option for a hybrid remote meeting for municipalities, which extends our ability to conduct remote meetings until March 31, 2025, if we so choose. This meeting is accessible, and there is a raise your hand feature at the bottom, and if not, a wave your hand. Otherwise, I would respectfully request that folks do mute themselves. I will note that we have, for administrative matters, there's no public input, field trip reports, no public input, and on our other items for discussion, no public input. Public input is limited to the public hearings. With that, I'm going to start and ask for, by the way, this evening we have 4 commissioners, which means any votes will require unanimity. Okay. 3 out of 4 doesn't do it. We need 4 out of 4 because this is a 7-person commission. So we'll need a unanimous vote on all matters. And with us this evening, we have Commissioners Nat Watson, Joe Burke, Jim Fitchett, and myself. So our first orders of business are the administrative, and the first is to approve the minutes of the February 13, 2024 meeting.
so moved.
We have a motion, we have a second on the motion.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. We'll do a roll call vote. Nat?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. The second administrative item is the approval of the field trip reports of February 27, 2024. May I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Nat?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so that motion passes unanimously. Our third administrative item is to receive the minutes of the February 27, 2024 meeting. I have a motion to that effect.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion. We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Nat?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. We're moving now to our field trip reports. And the first is a request for determination of applicability from Attorney Carolyn Smith of McGregor, Legree, and Stevens, PC, representing undisclosed parties or class to determine if the New Bedford Rifle Range site, the activities conducted at the New Bedford Rifle Range site, and the remaining on-site spent bullets and cartridges are subject to protection and regulation under both the state and local wetland law. In this case, on land owned by the city of New Bedford, as described as map 33, lot 19, otherwise 100 Woodcock Road. Mark, has staff investigated this request?
Yes, we have.
What is-
Before I get into the nuts and bolts of the case, I do need to make a statement. I am responding to a comment made in the March 7th letter from the applicant, response number 1, that I do want to acknowledge my failure to completely respond in the required time frame to the referenced public record request. At the time of that request, staff was involved in 2 significant issues regarding Dartmouth conservation that included the preparation of several complex orders of conditions for a single project, a significant revision to our local wetland bylaw, and lastly, I was amid training new junior staff. Given these distractions, I failed to give the request the complete response required. These are reasons, they're not excuses. At the time, I submitted the previous determination of applicability from 2022 regarding the parking lot improvements, but failed to adequately research the archives to find the orders of conditions issued under file number 15-01925 in 1992. It was not my intention to withhold that information, but an oversight. Subsequently, realizing the error, I did forward the order and the plan of record to the applicant's attention. I would also say that this error on my part does not appear to have changed or affected the proceedings for this evening's meeting. For my error, I take full responsibility, but I had no staff available skilled enough to delegate this responsibility to at the time. I apologize to all. Having said that, let's get down to the case at hand. Let's a bit of a site history. The city of New Bedford obtained this property in and around 1960. And at that time, I think everyone agrees that a rifle range was in fact the use. Based on some anecdotal discussions, there may have been also some military use. This use at this site pre-existed any wetlands laws or regulations. The rifle range was originally sited in its location in a remote area outside of the Russell's Mills village. Legislation in 2022 deemed this site as a potential conservation set aside for other development work in other areas of the city of New Bedford, specifically the Whaling City Golf Course, and this legislation was signed by Governor Baker. The filing history. In 1992, as I mentioned earlier, file number 15-0925 was filed to upgrade the pre-existing rifle range facility for the use. A final order was issued in 1992, was not appealed. The one deficit to that particular filing was that the city, we found no record that the city ever recorded that order of conditions. And also there does not appear to be a certificate of compliance to close out that expired order. That order did generate sign-offs from the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program under their file number 91-627. There was no mention of designated habitat on site, nor was there any reference to any vernal pools. In addition, there was a sign-off from the Town of Dartmouth Board of Health indicating no issues, and there was a sign-off from the building department saying same. In 2022, an RDA was filed and a determination of applicability was issued for an improvement to the parking lot area to the front left as you enter. Current mapping does show an estimated habitat and a priority habitat 189 in the southern third of the site in the area of the pre-existing use. And 3 potential, and I underscore potential, not certified vernal pools. 2 in the north end of the site, 1 in the middle and to the west side. There is also indication of wetlands and hydric soils on site. This has been confirmed in part by several delineations that were also done previously. There are BMPs that were written in 2005 by EPA. They are non-regulatory and non-enforceable, that are guidance documents for the operation of open gun ranges. A question arises as to the threat of any spent ordnance or cartridges left on site. No water quality data has been produced by the applicant. And in querying the town water department, the Town of Dartmouth Water Department, which operates production wells immediately to the east of that site, data showed no heavy metal impacts to the groundwater. Also, spent ordnance and cartridges does not fall under RCRA hazardous waste jurisdiction. It may be an DEP, a Massachusetts DEP solid waste issue, But there is no real designation of this material. Basically, this is a necessary use, not pleasant to abutters. Residential development over time has encroached upon this previously remote site. And we are dealing with, a neighborhood issue, if you will. Having summarized basically the findings as I see them, staff's recommendation is to issue a positive determination number 1, which stipulates that the site does fall within jurisdiction as evidence shows. This commission has issued a permit in 1992 and a determination in 2002, and also a positive determination 5 that this site, this use is subject to review under the local wetland bylaw. So again, to recap, we are recommending a positive 1 and a positive 5 for the use at the site, the use, and any associated issues related to the use at 100 Woodcock Road.
Is that the conclusion of your?
That is the conclusion of my comments, yes.
Okay, does any commissioner have any questions of Mark? Any comments? I mean, so if I understand it correctly, Mark, our determination or your recommendation is that we determine and issue the positive 1 and positive 5, saying that we do have jurisdiction over the area. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Does like I said, any commissioner have any questions? I'm seeing none. I'll entertain a motion to issue a positive determination, number 1 and number 5 on this request.
So moved.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Moving on now to our second field trip report. It's a request for determination of applicability, RD 825-4 from Joan Thatcher, to construct a 16-foot by 16-foot addition and a 12-foot by 16-foot deck with attached stairs on both within the 100-foot. Both are within the 100-foot buffer zone to land under a water body. It's on land described as map 24, lot 34 and 35. It's otherwise known as 367 Rockadundy Road. Mark, what is staff's recommendation on this request?
Yes, this proposal is at the extreme outer edge of the buffer zone on a already developed site and a lawn area. The actual addition is being placed over an existing deck footprint, and then they are adding a deck to that, to the outside. The impacts appear to be minimal, as there are other yard uses that have been going on for years within the buffer zone. The site is very stable. There are no direct impacts to the bordering vegetated wetland to the north and northeast, or to the pond to the east. And therefore, staff is recommending a -3 determination with our standard erosion and control condition associated with it.
Thank you, Mark. Does any commissioner have any questions of Mr. Garrett? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to issue a -3 determination with the standard erosion and control
So moved.
condition.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. We're moving now to field trip report number 3, and I understand that Jen, you'll be giving the staff's report. And this is a request for a certificate of compliance with DEP file 15-1751 from Stephen Spiegel to construct new septic system and water service at map 87 lot 4 at 220 Little River Road. Jen, the floor is yours.
I would recommend a complete certificate of compliance. The work appears to have been done according with the previous issued order of conditions.
Thank you. Does any commissioner have any questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to issue a complete certificate of compliance.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. The fourth field trip report is a request for determination of applicability from Channing Dawson for permission to construct a 312 square foot shed within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland on land described as map 15 lot 10. It's otherwise known as 2 Beach Rose Lane. Jen, again, floor is yours.
Okay, so I did a site visit on March 5th. And during that site visit, I observed some cutting and clearing within buffer zone to the bordering vegetated wetland. That clearing wasn't outlined in the application. So therefore I'm recommending a positive determination of 4 and 5.
Thank you. Does any commissioner have any question of staff? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to issue a positive 4 and 5 on this request.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. We're now going to the public hearings, and as I said at the outset, during the public hearings, I will ask if there's any comments from the public, and anyone who wishes to be heard can be heard at that time. So our first public hearing is a public hearing on DEP file 15-2722. It's NOI 24-9. It's from Andrew Houle, and I may be mispronouncing the name, and I apologize, to construct a garage within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. It's on land described as map 153, lot 6. It's otherwise known as 1115 Tucker Road. Entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
There's a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. And we have someone here this evening on behalf of the applicant.
Yes, this is the applicant, Andrew Houle.
Okay, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. I'm sorry.
No, you did it correctly.
Okay, thank you. Go right ahead.
Steve Schmiel is here as well.
Okay, Steve. Steve, do you want to give the presentation for your
Yeah,
client?
so Andrew's actually gonna kick things off, and if it's all right, share his screen to go over the
That's
site plan.
fine. Yep, please. Go right ahead.
Thanks.
Hello, everybody. So our proposed project is the construction of a 36 by 40 foot garage on our property at 1115 Tucker Road. On the plan prepared by SK Engineering, I've got Tucker Road at the top of the page. We have a gravel driveway that extends down the north border past our home. And then the garage is located just beyond the end of the current driveway. It lands or partially lands within the buffer zone of a creek that's on a neighboring property. We're within 81 feet. Important note, the new garden shed is part of the garage structure. And the total garage area is 1,440 square feet, of which 360 square feet falls within the 100-foot buffer zone. And of that, 180 square feet represents the new garden shed. So 50% of the impact is the shed, and it's relevant because of what we're proposing to do to some enhancements on the other part of the property to offset the impact on the buffer zone. So I scroll down the screen and we move towards the back of our property. There's an area back here where we have our existing garden shed, which is a little larger than 12 by 12. We call it 12 by 12. It's 144 square feet. We're proposing to remove that shed and its contents and put everything in the new garage shed. And we're also proposing to take down 16 trees that are in various states of decline. And within this area back here, we're going to do a buffer zone enhancement, which I can engage Stephen Schmiel to assist with. And he came up with a plan to do exactly that. The other thing I would mention is on the proposed barn, we are managing water runoff from the roof, and we're taking everything into the ground through in-ground drainage, as well as adding dry wells for additional capacity. And our plan incorporates what we're doing is roof runoff is running directly down to a large gravel bed that surrounds 3 sides of the garage. And then it has enough, that and alone has enough capacity to manage the roof runoff. But we also added a dry well just to make sure we had excess capacity. I'd like to let Steve present at this point because he can speak much better on the buffer zone enhancements that he's proposed at the back of our site.
Thanks, Andrew. You covered that well. So yeah, essentially the rear of the property transitions from maintained lawn to a forested area, a buffer zone that I think arguably is of a somewhat low quality, low habitat quality. In addition to the number of dead ash, there's a, which isn't necessarily a low quality trait, but there's a number of invasive species present throughout that back corridor. So the area that we are proposing for enhancement is everything from what's shown as the mounded area, extending to the left to the existing shed, and then slightly beyond that. So as Andrew mentioned, the mitigation would be removal of the existing shed, removal of some of the ash trees that are dying. They're currently shedding branches and bark and in pretty poor health. And removal of the invasive species, and removal of a number of, can't recall if they're stationed on pallets, but there's some staged bricks, cobblestone, kind of miscellaneous building material within this area as well. Once that work is complete, we've proposed a planting arrangement, a mix of American holly, white oak as a tree cover. Those obviously both native and both present in the adjacent habitat areas towards the east, and then a shrub community as well, and a number of species selected that are also based on the populations to the east as well. In addition to that, the ground cover is a bit bare in this location, so we're also proposing a 10-foot on center installation of herbaceous plugs throughout this area. And if you can scroll back up, Andrew, just a bit to refresh me on the species. So shrubs selected, shrub-sized trees, and then shrubs, hornbeam, pepperbush, highbush, blueberry, witch hazel, spice bush, and then the plugs would be an arrangement of wood fern, wood aster, and Pennsylvania sedge. I think for the most part that covers the plan for mitigation and enhancement. We do have proposed silt fence. We are planning to grind some of those stumps. The grindings themselves, the intent was to kind of consolidate those and use them as a mulch cover around the plantings. If it's an excessive amount, we can remove them from the property. But regardless, we'd have soil erosion sediment controls extended along that entire northern stretch to account for any surface disturbances or material that might kind of meander towards the resource area.
Okay, does that conclude your presentation?
that's all I have. Unless there's any questions.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Mark, I'd be very interested to hear staff's comments on this proposal.
Yeah, I conducted a site visit, probably about 2 weeks ago, maybe a little less. And at the time, what was being proposed was the proposed barn, deck, and shed structure, portion of which was in the buffer zone, which that portion of the buffer zone is lawn area. Could you scroll back up a little bit to
Yeah.
include the proposed barn and mitigation area, please? Okay. Keep going. A little bit more. No, up, scroll up, or
Right.
scroll down, whatever. I need
Yeah,
the
the
mitigation
mitigation
also.
on the bottom.
But I also need the barn also.
So zoom out a little bit. A little bit more. There we go.
Okay. So the proposed barn, the deck, and the shed area were all being proposed in an existing lawn area, which was in the portion of the buffer zone. My initial reaction, as you know, when I evaluate projects, is I evaluate them against the standard evaluation criteria. First, avoidable, then minimized, then mitigable. It was clear to me that given the fact that lawn area really extends from the house all the way back to the mitigation area, there was areas outside of the buffer zone that were lawn area where this could be relocated. There were discussions, I won't go into all the details of those discussions. And I said, well, if this proposed location is the location, then there needs to be some additional work. And that's when we got involved in a conceptual discussion of buffer zone enhancement, which they've added to and included in this presentation. I must say that I'm a little, we were talking about the removal of 4 or 5 trees. If I heard Andrew correct, it's now 16 trees. If I further heard Stephen, he indicated that some of the some of the trees that probably were added are of a compromised condition. Is that true, Steve?
Yeah, I don't know the source emerald ash borer, but it's mostly green ash through that whole corridor in that, that section of the property. And the bark's starting to shed, the limbs are falling. So they've all been subject to something that's caused them to decline.
Are they declining rapidly, or is this a slow process?
I've only been there once. Maybe Andrew, you can speak to.
In the past few years, it's been more of a rapid decline. And I agree, Mark, with your comment. When I initially thought about removing trees, it was going to be around the shed area, which we
Right.
wanted to clean up. But then when we thought
I
about,
think we were also talking about one tree that was set back, which I looked at and I thought was reasonable to remove also.
Yeah.
I think that was the 5th tree.
yeah, and I thought in the process of trying to expand this buffer zone enhancement, it might be beneficial to get rid of the other declining trees if we're going to do that type of work in that area, rather than have them continue to shed on top of the improvements.
So if I understand your proposal, Steve, you're removing 16 trees and you're replacing it with 14? Is that?
Yeah, the spacing was dictated based on the criteria that we discussed. I think we're doing 7 to 10 foot on center.
Yeah.
I mean, we can certainly increase a few trees if you're looking for a 1-to-1.
I'm not necessarily looking for a 1-to-1. I think my concern is this, and I'm having a little bit of trouble visualizing. Our standard requirement is 1-inch DBH caliber trunks. And those are still pretty young trees. And if I remember the forested cover out there, those are some substantial trees. Now, removing 4 or 5 of them is no big deal. Removing 16 of them, all of a sudden you're changing the character of the buffer zone. And yeah, in 30 years it'll be enhanced if everything works out. But right now, it's really going from a forested shrub condition to pretty much a shrub condition until the trees get some height on them. So I'm thinking that if we go with this proposal, which I'm not necessarily against, I might up the DBH diameters to 1.5 to give us a little bit more substantial tree.
Mark, does that conclude your comments?
No, I was gonna finish up by saying that basically the plan, aside from the deviation in the trees, is, I think, pretty spot on. Steve and I spoke about it, and as long as they meet our specifications of 3 to 5 gallon pots or balls, and the increase in the DBH for the number of trees to be replaced, I have no problem with the speciation. I like the idea of the plugs spaced out to give some more cover. The other thing is I would suggest extending silt fence along the upgradient side of the stone wall. Just to protect from if there's any disturbance seeping through. Stone walls are porous. It would just be helpful to run a course along that stone wall line to the edge of the property or the edge of the work area.
Across here?
Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
And other than that, I think that overall the concept is good. I do appreciate the infiltration, as opposed to just sheet flow runoff going wherever, the lawn grades will take it. And having said that, I am going to recommend a standard order of conditions to include our standard replication conditions as per this plan, the S&K engineering plan dated the revised date of March 6th, 2024.
Thank you, Mark. Does any commissioner have any question of either the applicant, Steve, or Mark? I don't
think we
see
can
any.
accommodate those comments, no problem.
Thank you for that, Steve. So, Mark's comments you're talking about.
Correct.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard? I don't see any. At this point, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
We have a seconded motion. We'll do a roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Commissioners, we have a staff recommendation for a standard order of conditions with the standard conditions regarding the resource area replication. And this is subject to the March 6th, 2024 plan. We've also heard from the applicant. They will accept staff's recommendations to increase the diameter of the trees to 1.5, and we'll have 3 to 5 gallon balls for the shrubs. I'll entertain a motion to that effect unless you have any questions or comments.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. We'll do a roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much for a very good presentation on point. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night. Our second public hearing is public hearing on DEP file 15-2724. It's NOI 24-8, Mark Ritz, to repair a septic system on an existing property within land subject to coastal storm flowage. It's on land described as map 97, lot 20. It's otherwise known as Pennakees Lane. Entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Second.
Do a roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. And on behalf of the applicant, we have this evening, someone, I think.
Yes, good evening. My name is Mark Ritz. I'm with Site Design Engineering, representing the applicant at 5 Panakees. Would you like me to screen share a plan or
If you could, that'd be wonderful.
do that? And that will take me, um, sorry, a little bit new to this. What you have before you this evening is a request to repair and upgrade an existing septic system. This is a project that was previously approved by this commission or a past version of this commission in 2016. And a 3-year extension was issued in 2019, which expired in 2022. I don't know why, but the system was never built and upgraded. The applicant has come back requesting essentially the same system in more or less the same place. It is a drip system. It does not increase capacity. The resource area in question is land subject to coastal storm flowage. There are no other wetland resource areas or buffer zones that affect the work site. It is basically improving an existing out-of-date septic system, which is no longer functioning properly, upgrading to a drip system to basically minimize any impacts to the resource and provide the best available septic for the area. The system location is the same as was previously approved. They didn't want to do any crazy replumbing of the house, cutting new holes and foundations and whatnot to run lines out of the other side of the house. That's basically the extent of this project. All work is happening in previously altered lawn areas or other portions of the property that have been landscaped and altered. No new permanent disturbance except the subsurface system. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions any commissioners have.
Thank you very much. Mark, I'd be interested in hearing the comments from staff.
I think Mark pretty much summed it up. This is a system that pretty much a location of which was approved by a previous commission. It was extended. I believe there was some illness and they lost track of extending it further. They're refiling. I believe that this is a better system than what was previously approved. It's inland subject to coastal storm flowage, as is the house and all the other surrounding houses and systems out there. I think this is a vast improvement over what is there now. I know that the property is required to do this upgrade, was I believe it's for sale. It's on the market. So under Title V, this has to be done. So I think that it's a prudent design. It's in a prudent place, and I am prepared to or staff is prepared to recommend the standard order of conditions as per the site design plan dated February 13th, 2024.
Thank you, Mark. Do any commissioners have any questions of Mr. Garrett or the applicant? I don't see any. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to be heard on this application? I don't see any. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
You have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So that motion passes unanimously. Commissioners, at this point, I'd entertain a motion to issue a standard order of conditions in accordance with the plan submitted by the applicant dated February 13, 2024.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
With a seconded motion, roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for a very well presented project. Good luck. Number 3, It's a public hearing, DEP file 15-2725, NOI 24-10 from Christian Atwood and Susan Obel for permission to convert a garage into a pool cabana for construction of a pool, spa, and terrace, and modifications to grading and landscaping within land subject to coastal storm flowage. It's on land described as map 107, lot 12. It's otherwise known as 966 Smith Neck Road. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded motion, roll call vote. Pat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. And I see Alan is here, so on behalf of the applicant, Alan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Alan Haru. I'm a professional civil engineer. And for this public hearing, I'm representing Christian Atwood and Susan Obel, 966 Smith Neck Realty Trust, owners of a single-family house at 966 Smith Neck Road. The 4-acre lot contains land subject to coastal storm flowage, and the existing house and detached garage are located in a flood zone, AE elevation 16 to 17, mean sea level. If I can share my screen.
Please. Yep.
I'm going to show you the existing conditions of this property. So what we're looking at is the existing conditions plan prepared by Boucher and Associates.
Alan, we do not have a shared screen.
Okay. Let me see. Host disabled participant sharing screen. All right, one moment. Is that better?
Yeah, it's kind of small though.
Maximize the screen, Alan.
All right. Can you see that?
Yeah, but go to your top right corner and hit maximize the large block.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. On the right of the plan is the Aponegosset Bay, and there's a coastal beach and a coastal bank on the opposite side of Smith Neck Road. Here's the existing house. It's number 966. They share a driveway with the Knowles, and the driveway comes in on the south side of the house. Driveway comes in on the westerly side of the house, and there's a detached garage here. And there are several flood zones on the property, as I mentioned. So the house and the garage are both within a mapped flood zone, AE elevation 16, with a small portion in elevation 17 flood zone, mean sea level. So what we propose second. Okay, so is that showing up on your screen?
I can see it.
Yeah, okay. See if I can, all right, just trying to. Okay, so we propose to convert the existing garage into a pool cabana. We also propose a terrace adjacent to the cabana, a pool, a spa, and a pool terrace in an existing driveway area. We propose an auto court on the south side of the house and some driveway modifications. So a large part of the driveway will be removed, and there will be a pool put in an area that is currently a driveway. There will be low stone walls, grading, and landscape improvements around the renovated house. The record plans are entitled Existing Conditions Site Plan prepared by Boucher and Associates, Inc., dated November 22nd, 2023, and Site Plan prepared by Dan Gordon Landscape Architects, dated February 26th, revised March 1st, 2024. We propose a silt fence barrier across the easterly side of the building envelope, down gradient from the work area, and also a construction exit on the south side of the proposed auto court. The DEP file number is SE 15-2725. I believe Patrick Taylor, principal of Dan Gordon Landscape Architects, is attending this hearing with me, so he and I'd be happy to answer your questions about this project.
Thank you, Alan. Mark, I would be interested in hearing staff's comments on this proposal.
Yeah, this is a fairly large waterfront property, even though it abuts Smith Neck Road before the water. Large structure, a lot of landscaping, a lot of lawn area out there. The proposal is basically to repurpose a garage into a pool cabana with a spa pool area within an existing driveway. Some additional stone walls, some additional pavers, patio areas, all basically within the existing development perimeter within a floodplain. It's not really any different to any of the other residences along that reach of Smith Neck Road, sandwiched between Smith Neck and West Smith Neck Road. I am prepared to recommend a standard order of conditions as per the Dan Gordon site plan dated February 26th, 2024. I will state for the record that we will want entrenched wattles or hay bales and silt fence along the perimeter as shown for erosion control on this particular plan, as opposed to just silt fence.
The plan was revised March 1st, 2024 with DPW comments. Thank you.
Did I get that revised plan, Alan?
Yes,
I'm sorry, what was the date?
March 1st, 2024.
My mistake.
No worries. We just added a bunch of notes that Paul
okay.
Duart at the DPW wanted.
Alan, you heard the comments that Mark had raised. Is that acceptable to the applicants instead of having
Yes.
hay bales? Okay.
Yes.
Does any commissioner have any question? I don't see any. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to be heard on this application? I don't see any. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a second on the motion. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Well, we didn't vote, Alan. We just voted
Oh.
to close the
So-
public hearing. That's okay. So at this point, commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to issue a standard order as per the plan revised March 1, 2024, with the correction that they'll use, they will not use hay bales, but rather, as Mr. Garrett suggested, wattles and entrenched wattles rather than the hay bales, which was agreed upon by the applicant.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
We have a seconded motion on the floor. We'll have a roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Now you can say good evening.
Thank you. Good evening.
Right, Alan.
Good night.
All right, our fourth public hearing is a public hearing on DEP file number 15-2726. So we did get a file number. It's 2726. It's NOI 24-11. It's an after-the-fact notice of intent from Joseph Baptista for the unauthorized removal of wood debris and grading within the 100-foot buffer zone to an inland bank. And described as map 33, lot 39-2. It's on Chase Road. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
A second? Can we have a second on the motion to waive the reading?
Second.
Seconded motion. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. We did get a request, I think it was by email by the applicant, to continue this public hearing March 26th. Was that correct, Mark?
Well, he said the next meeting in March, so that the next meeting is the 26th, yes.
And we have room on the agenda for this.
Yes,
So at this point, I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing until March 26, 2024 at 7 PM.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes. Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion is unanimously. If there's someone here this evening on this, and they, make sure you note on your calendar, March 26, 2024. Okay, you won't be sent another letter, so it'll just mark it on your calendars. We're now moving over to the items for discussion, and the first one, I didn't see any bills listed, so I'm assuming we don't have any.
no bills.
Okay, we have the revised wetland bylaw. Those were submitted by town council. I have no further comment, but if any commissioner does, or Mark, if you do, I'm more than willing to entertain that.
My only comment is I think that we're pretty much at a point where my thought is that the commission can recommend, or vote to approve this and move it forward, as we there's no real need to continue to deliberate over them. I think it covers everything. I think it's pretty smooth, and the longer we wait, the worse we risk to get knocked off a town meeting. And this has already gone on for 14, 15 months, so we've got to get closure. We still have to deal with revising the regulations, and we really can't do that until we have this, approved at town meetings. So any further delay would be, tantamount to an absolute waste of time for all of us. So my recommendation is to accept the changes as they are, and we move it forward to town meeting.
Does any commissioner have any issues with that or concerns?
No.
Okay, so at this point, I'll entertain a motion to recommend the revised bylaws to the select board, and to be asking that it be placed on the town warrant.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. So we can let Brian know he can move it forward to the next level.
I will tell him tomorrow. He's awaiting hearing from me.
All righty. Do we have any enforcement issues, Mark?
None that we need to speak of right now. We are still working out some details on some repairs. Some of them are going to be part of the public hearings next go around.
Okay. I don't have any unanticipated items.
Yes, you do.
Well, I do. Yes, I do. Okay,
Yes,
yes,
you
you're
do.
correct. Yes, I do. So we did get an individual who expressed an interest in becoming a commissioner. And so I read the email, and there was a lengthy email to me as the chair and Mark as the agent. And there was also a request, yes, I guess a request that was put into the select board. I'm going to ask Mark to share that with the other commissioners, and that we also schedule a time for those commissioners who are interested, who want to interview this person, to do so. Because the next step would be, if we're inclined to think she's a good candidate for commissioner, and frankly, I thought she looked good on paper. I thought that the things that she's been doing demonstrated a commitment to the town of Dartmouth, and some of the not-for-profits that she's a member of or has been a member of certainly shows she has an interest in conservation, not necessarily wetlands protection, but certainly conservation issues. And I'd be very interested to interview her. So that would be the next step, Mark, is to set up a time where she can, and we can do it by Zoom. So for those who, we don't have to go to town hall. We can do that by Zoom as well, I suspect, if we have enough advance time. Probably wouldn't take more than a half an hour to 45 minutes.
Yeah, I really don't have all that much more to add to what Mike said. I thought that her initial write-up was impressive enough for, for an interview. Obviously, you find out more about people in person than you do, just from reading a write-up. You can embellish a lot of things. The one thing that is somewhat, I don't want to say intriguing, but I think is valuable, is she is she's more of a North Dartmouth type person. She's centrally located on Reed Road, so maybe a little different townwide perspective than we've had in the past, which is not a bad thing. And I think, from her credential and what I read, she certainly is an attractive potential candidate. What Mike and I were talking about, and it could be all of you if you want. I mean, the bigger the number, the more cumbersome it gets. If there's, one or two people who really are interested in interviewing her, with Mike and myself, we'd certainly welcome that. If everybody wants to do it, we welcome that too. In terms of the process, I got a call from the selectman's office, or the select board's office today. And they just wanted to know how we wanted to proceed, moving forward with this particular inquiry, letter of interest. And I said, we're going to talk about it tonight, but the chair and I had shared some thoughts that we should probably do an interview, and which would, at the commission level, and that would generate a recommendation, which we would send forth to the select board and the town administrator. They are the appointing body, and they would have the final decision. However, my sense is that they would yield to whatever, our situation is. And I did indicate to them that we wanted to do this fairly rapidly because we have a vacancy now. We potentially will have a vacancy come the second week of April. And we don't want to be getting ourselves 2 people down and, so on and so forth. And who knows what the future holds for others on the commission. So I think it's a very good idea that we get this interview done and a recommendation up to the select board in a very short order.
I agree with what Mark just said. And I want to also point out that we shouldn't stop any efforts to try to find somebody else, because this merely fills Patty's slot if we decide we want to recommend her and the select board appoints her. And there's, possibility we're going to lose Kyle, excuse me, on his bid for school committee. That's where he is this evening. They had to meet the candidates night. So if he wins that election, he'll be stepping down. He's already advised us of that. So, efforts should still be made to encourage anyone who might have an interest to think about it and hopefully present an intent letter or email so we can at least move that ball forward as well.
Well, to that part of the discussion I had with the select board office was in that office, and I'm not sure if everybody knows this, I'll share it real quickly. This response was to a social media posting by our communications person, a recent hire to the town who works out of the administrator's office, and she posted this. I think it was Instagram and I'm not a social media guy, but Facebook. So she is providing us a broader set of platforms to get the word out. And as society evolves from people like me who, don't do social media, it's probably the way to get the word out as opposed to the standard legal ad or public notice, which people are not reading web pages anymore. They're reading Facebook and, whatever all the social media platforms are for Dartmouth, they're reading them. Many of them read them to complain. Many of them read them to get information. So I think it's the way to go and move forward with this in the future. And it would be, having been on boards in my hometown, it's always nice to have a backlog of candidates who may not make it in the moment, but are certainly qualified to make it down the road. And, it's an easy contact if we need to fill a second, a third position as we move along. So that we are doing, and I will speak to Magnolia tomorrow via email and tell her to keep sending the stuff out. We're going to follow up on Elizabeth, who is the candidate we were talking about tonight, and then see if we can get some others in the house too.
Mark, I completely agree. Social media postings are something that probably we should, in the future, we're going to find more and more is how people get their information. But,
I think that's so.
I'm more of a dinosaur than you. I still use fountain pens, So
I got a fountain pen. Don't. No, and truly, not to go further on this, but as we think about public notices and things of that nature, we need to use that vehicle to get public notices out. We've put out public notices about filing fee changes, about different policy changes, and the like. We put out a legal ad for way back when for the public hearing on the wetland bylaw revision. We didn't get a whole lot of turnout. Maybe it was just because they weren't looking in that area. We used the electronic sign out in front of town hall. We did legal ads and public notices, and we got 1 or 2 people. Maybe if we use social media, we get 3 or 4 people. It's not a great increase, but it is an increase.
Well, I would recommend that maybe we talk to our consultant there, and she might be able to set up a Facebook page or something for the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, I could do that.
And, because I think that it probably does reach us a lot more people, and I hate to say it, it's also generational. We might also, and it might be something other than Facebook. I'm probably showing my ignorance by saying Facebook, but there's probably more people we can reach that would be the best thing we can do if we can. So anyway, I thank her for her efforts there, because it looks like we at least have some potential. Anyone else, commissioners, have anything you want to bring?
Well, could I ask one question? Is there anybody interested in participating with Mike and myself in the interview?
I'd be interested, but I certainly don't want to hold things up. So if scheduling doesn't align, I certainly trust your judgment and Mike's judgment, Mark. So if it works out, I join.
Mike and I
If
will
not,
talk, and we'll
Yeah.
set up a couple of dates and see what works for you.
We'll reach out to you
Yeah.
and let you know what they are. Yeah.
okay.
I'd be happy to
Great.
help.
Thank you,
If
Joe.
it's
Same here.
Jim? Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, if we'll circulate what the dates are and we'll see what we have. I'd like to do it no later than next week.
Yeah, it's fine with me.
If possible, Mark, if she could do it Thursday or Friday, that'd be okay. This week, I'd be okay with that because I'd like to get the recommendation before the select board as soon as possible.
Why don't we do this? Those of you who are interested, email me your available times over the next week and a half. And then I will cross-reference those and we'll get a time, or we'll get 3 times. I'll reach out to the candidate and say, we've reviewed, we'd like to speak with you. These are the times that are available for you to come in and chat with, commissioners, and then we will make a recommendation to the select board.
That's fair. Are we going to be doing this by remote?
Let's find out who's coming first.
Okay.
The remote thing's easy. All I have to do is say, DCTV, give me a remote, sign-in address.
Okay. Well, we
Okay,
should find out who's coming.
This
That's
is-
true. And then find out if the applicant would prefer that as well.
Yeah.
This is Joe Burke. I'll be away till the 23rd of March.
Okay. Would you be able to participate with the Zoom though before
Yes.
then, Joe?
Yes,
Okay. So I think we'd like to do a Zoom if we can. Make it
Hey,
easier for us.
Joe, do me a favor and email me that, okay? I got so much stuff on my mind. I'm not gonna remember that 5
will.
minutes after I walk out of here.
My
I said,
only-
you said something, what was it?
my only conflict is March 17th.
You can
but
just
I'll
say,
be-
March, other than March 17th, you're okay with the Zoom meeting, right, Joe?
Yes, I'll email that to Mark.
All right. I've written it down, so I've written it down, Joe. So when I write to Mark, I'll put that in for you.
I just have to apologize for the background noise. It's like
No,
hearing
listen.
sensation.
You-
And I hope I'm having trouble hearing because it's so loud. Now it's quiet, but I hope it didn't interrupt the meeting.
It did not, and frankly, I appreciate the fact that you're here. And even if it did, I don't care. You were here and we needed you, so I appreciate that. Anyway, I have nothing more to add. So at this juncture, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Folks, have a good evening and hope the rest of your week is fine.